What do you say to people back home who may not follow this that closely, but just expect you guys to get this very basic function of your job done and fund the government?
We're dysfunctional.
It's just that simple.
That's simple. We are so dysfunctional. We've got nobody at the head.
Nobody at the head. Republican Congressman Tim Burchett echoing a bipartisan sentiment right now that is spreading all over Capitol Hill, that with 10 days left to avert a government shutdown, House Republicans are dysfunctional. Now, multiple votes brought forth by Speaker Kevin McCarthy have been stymied by his own party, including a bill to fund the Pentagon. This afternoon, with things at a standstill, Republicans huddled behind closed doors to once again try and reach some kind of compromise on funding. And it sounds like there may be some kind of tentative progress.
I think we've got a plan to move forward, going to DOD and then going to a number of other appropriation bills. And
what about the CR, sir?
We're very close there. I feel I just got a little more movement to go there.
All right, but with Speaker McCarthy facing multiple attacks from within his own party this week, a little more movement actually could still be a very long way to go. Joining me now is someone who has been closely following what she calls the rage of the toddler caucus on Capitol Hill. Susan Glasser of The New Yorker. She's back on the show. Susan, it's great to see you. Thank you for being here. So you heard Kevin McCarthy say they are very close on a continuing resolution. Do you believe him?
Well, define very close. If you say that very close means actually very, very far away, then maybe you're there. Look, this is the silly season in Congress. Unfortunately, it is almost made inevitable by the very close House majority that Republicans won last year in the elections. Remember, it took 15 ballots just for McCarthy to become Speaker back in January. So in a big picture sense, it's not a surprise he was going to face a rebellion like this one. But, you know, the Republicans in Congress are a party divided, and they're not even divided neatly into two camps. There's a fragmentation that's gone on here that makes it almost impossible for McCarthy. He can corral one group, and then another group could raise their hands and object at the last minute, too. So they seem intent on crashing the country into another self-made crisis.
And speaking of one of those camps, you've got Matt Gaetz. He has been one of the Republicans leading the anti-McCarthy charge since at least January, when he forced or was part of the people that forced 15 ballots before McCarthy was eventually elected as Speaker. Is there anything Kevin McCarthy can do to win Matt Gaetz on his side? Because just based on the rhetoric, just the language that Matt Gaetz has been using to describe Kevin McCarthy, it looks like there is a serious problem.
Yes, it does look like there's a serious problem indeed. Look, even the bargaining chips that these members of Congress, even what they want, is not clear. That really struck me the other day when McCarthy was asked by some reporters in the Capitol, well, what's going on? What do they want? And he said, I don't even know. And when you're bargaining with people who can't even articulate what it is that they would accept as a bottom line in order to avert this crisis, then you know on some level that we're in trouble. I keep thinking of the line from Succession. These are not serious people.
And he finds himself in this predicament right now because of how he needs to get this bill passed. McCarthy was asked earlier today if he thought it was possible to vote on a continuing resolution without having to tap into the Democrats. No Democrats on board. Listen to what he said.
Is it actually possible to pass something with just Republican votes?
I believe so. Look, those are the same people that we have dealt with all the other legislation we've done.
So given that his own party derailed the Pentagon bill and all his other bills this week alone, does McCarthy sound overly optimistic?
Well, he is an optimist, or he wouldn't be in this job, because it requires arguably the patience of Job to deal with, this kind of threat from any single member in his conference. Literally any single member in his conference could at any moment press a vote to vacate the chair and to oust him. That was a key concession that McCarthy gave back in January in order to win the speakership in the first place. So, in the end, he is, it strikes me, a hostage, but a more or less willing hostage to this faction of far-right members in his own caucus.
So if you can, I mean, I want to play this for you. Matt Gaetz, speaking on that specific issue, if McCarthy does tap into the Democrats and has to go the bipartisan route on government funding, listen to what Matt Gaetz said, and I'll get your thoughts on it.
If Speaker McCarthy relies on Democrats to pass a continuing resolution, I would call the Capitol moving truck to his office pretty soon, because my expectation would be he'd be out of the Speaker's office quite promptly.
So put that in perspective for us. How weak is Kevin McCarthy as a result of that sentiment from Matt Gaetz?
Look, he is a weak speaker because he doesn't have a functioning governing majority. At the same time, I would note that just last week, McCarthy was already very frustrated and furious with Matt Gaetz, who was essentially trying to blackmail him. And he already was reported to say in his own conference, you know, if he wants to threaten me and make me scared, bring the effing motion to vacate the chair. And I would note that Matt Gaetz has not actually yet brought the motion. So that tells you a little bit about, you know, the sort of kabuki theater that they're engaging in.
If it's not Kevin McCarthy that the right flank of the party is listening to, who do you think it is?
You know, look, there is a big difference between members of Congress like Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene. And, you know, there are different factions in the House, not to mention the Senate Republicans who march to the beat of a different drummer as well. Donald Trump remains, as Liz Cheney so memorably quoted another Republican House member last year, called him their orange Jesus. You know, look, he is in the process of running away with the Republican nomination. He was, you know, discussing plans to launch an impeachment inquiry in the House with Marjorie Taylor Greene days before McCarthy agreed to it. So, you know, he is at a very minimum, they're sort of, you know, ideological leader, if you will, of this band.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more on that. Never heard Orange Jesus before. I'm not sure how I feel about that one. Susan Glasser, it's always great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.